War Eagle, War Rapport family. I am your host, C Dub. Tough game for Auburn yesterday as they faced off against Penn State. We discussed all of that and more in the latest edition of the Weekend Tailgate.
You are now listening to a War Rapport Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by
Athletic Architect.
It's your boy, I Jones. Be real. C-Dog. Mike G. Get ready. Sit on back as we bring you the War Rapport Weekend Tailgate.
War Eagle, everyone. War Eagle, happy Sunday. Welcome to the latest edition of the Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by show sponsor Athletic Architects. Please, guys, if you are a student athlete, related to a student athlete, or just looking to start your own LLC, you see the link down there, buildthehouse.com. Please go there. Definitely show them some love as they are showing the War Rapport a lot of love. Thank you to Athletic Architects for definitely being a sponsor of the War Rapport and the Weekend Tailgate. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us as well the day after. We appreciate you guys. Share this video on social media. We're going to have an interesting conversation today. I want you to bring other people in on the discussion. Help us grow our community. While you're here, smash the like button. And if you're new to our channel, please hit subscribe. Now, we got a really painful film review that's on the way that Ike Jones has to cut up and take a look at and dissect. Don't have him do it alone. Become a patron. Ike, tell them about how to do that.
Yeah, hit that join button, become a patron so you can watch me cry while looking at film. That's pretty much what you can look forward to is tears while I rewatch a massacre that took place. But if you would like to join me in a group therapy session, then please do become a patron so we can cry together. Because when I cry, you cry.
Shut up.
Anyway.
Shut up. Shut up.
$5.99 gets you there, man. Become a patron of the War Rapport.
I'm done. I'm off the show.
F. Ja Rule. I don't want to cry at a time like this. I want to dance. I'm scared to death.
This game and every game, or if you're not a member, man, somebody can gift you a membership. So there is an ability to do that from a desktop. So you guys can check that out. Gifted memberships to the War Rapport do not guarantee Auburn victories, and we do not make any claims as such, but they do get you some of the best content that is out here on the interweb. So you guys can do that for some of your fellow people. Today, we're giving away a Lobtown t-shirt because I mean, I don't even know if we deserve to give anything away related to football. So we're just going to go straight to giving away basketball stuff early. The season isn't over with. I am definitely not in that space, but I am in I don't really want to talk about football today, but we have to space, but I'm giving away a basketball shirt right now. And so Lobtown t-shirt, hashtag get your weight up in the comments, sponsored by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. I got Walt Taylor there in the comments. Yeah, that's all I got to say, man. That's it.
Hold on, wait. Before we move on, I want to mention this at the top of the show.
All right.
Guys, yesterday was so bad. And I don't see it here. I don't know where it went. I don't know where the Rogue Shop created a special code for Delta 8s yesterday. So when you've been using code Rapport, if you use code War Rapport, you'll get 25% off Delta 8 gummies and the good stuff too. I mean, he recognized our pain. He's not an Auburn fan, but he is an Auburn supporter because he supports our channel. And he said, I hear you guys. Here's an extra 10% off some feel good. So yeah.
Shout out to the guys at the Rogue Shop.
Yeah, man.
Appreciate them for doing the due diligence. We should probably just leave this up for the remainder of the show.
Every ass whooping the next show is sponsored by somebody who's going to change your state of mind.
This show is brought to you by Mental Health Awareness.
Yes. Hey, I don't go with places that do that. I mean, you know.
My therapist. 555.
Oh man. Well, listen, I'm glad we can joke about it a little bit because that score down there is pretty much the story of what happened. It's a lot closer at the half. We were still hopeful, and it just went to hell, just literally. Auburn ended up losing 41-12. You guys heard us on the post game. Me, B. Will, Mike G. Ike was at the game, covering the game. Ike, we didn't get a chance to hear your initial thoughts. There's never a good time to talk about a game like this, but it's time.
Yeah. All right. So my thoughts on all of this. So let me start by saying, regardless of how wide the margin was, it still only equates to one loss in the loss column.
One.
Having said that, it was an abysmal performance. I don't know that there was a bright spot in this game that I can just point to and say, oh, this went really well. Like it just, I mean, we didn't miss a field goal. We were perfect on field goal attempts and extra point tries. We didn't actually try the extra point. We went for 2, but I mean, every time we kicked the ball, it went where we intended for it to go. We didn't have any colossal busts on special teams. So, but the offensive line looked bad. The defensive line, I'm gonna camp out on the defensive line, so I'll skip them. The defensive backs didn't look bad, but they, I mean, they didn't really like impact the game. No turnovers, no like really critical breakups happened from the defensive backs. Linebackers, wow. Outside of a big hit from Owen Papo to start the game, not a lot to talk about in the positive light for how the linebackers played in that game. Wide receivers actually didn't look bad, right? Like we didn't have any big drops in the game. Guys were getting open occasionally. Like it wasn't just like consistently open, but it was open enough for if the quarterbacks had time that we should have been able to complete some passes. We actually had some big catches being made out there. So wide receivers looked decent this game. Tight end play. Nah, I nothing really stands out. I haven't rewatched the game, so nothing really stands out there. And so then we get to the two, I guess, bigger issues that I have. Offensive line is probably the big one, but quarterback play. I don't actually think quarterback play was as bad as people are trying to say it was. The turnovers, unacceptable. TJ Finley had one of the most befuddling interceptions I think the play itself should have been whistled dead to begin with, but the decision once the play was snapped to even attempt to make the throw that he made was, I don't know what to say about it. The fumble was just not he's not a runner, and he was he's having to run more this game, and he just didn't have enough ball security when he got out in the open field. That's just kind of another inexcusable thing. You have to secure the ball if you're going to be running around with it. The Shed Jackson fumble was deflating. I talked about wide receiver play. I didn't mention the Shed Jackson fumble was deflating.
Yeah.
I think we honestly, seeing how the offensive line was playing, probably should have gone to Robbie Ashford a little bit earlier in this game, just to say, all right, to hell with all this drop back stuff. Let's just try it, because it would open up the run game a little bit more. But then Robbie goes out there and he throws the pick, and I'm just like, oh God, bro, like we have to just seize the opportunities that are there in front of us. So that was a little disappointing. But I don't want to camp out on quarterback, because I think the quarterback is just a symptom of a poor offensive line in that case. But the decision making that happened with TJ Finley on those 2 interceptions, inexcusable. So we can have a separate conversation about TJ Finley, and I know a lot of people will want to. Well, 1 interception, 1 fumble, so 2 turnovers.
Okay, got it.
But the defensive line, if you'd asked me before the season, and I said very plainly, even though you didn't ask me, I thought that this was going to be a strength of this football team. And Penn State pushed us around in the front 7 the entire most of that game. Like it was mostly just like really big runs that they broke off, but like still, even like getting close to the goal line, like all of their scores that were inside the 5 were run plays. Like we just were not defending the run well. Our pass rush has been anemic. And I just don't see the defensive line doing the things that I thought that they were going to be able to do this far. And that's baffling to me, considering the vast majority of those guys is not their first year here. Like they're returning guys and they're not playing better this. Like was Nick Eason just that good a coach where it's just like Nick Eason's gone and so now all of a sudden the defensive line can't. I don't understand what happened with the defensive line this season that has made us so porous up front. And that is the part where I'm baffled. And then the last thing that I will say is this team, and like most teams, take on the persona of their coach. And Coach Harsin always knows how to say the right things. And the team knows how to say the right things. And they're taking this business approach. I'm not seeing it on the field. I'm not seeing discipline. We've had way too many turnovers. We've had way too many timely or costly penalties. We've had way too many people just being out of position. I'm not seeing the press conference translate to the field. And that's a problem for me. That's a huge problem for me, because one of the things that I had as a huge issue for me with the previous coaching staff was looking inept on Saturdays, looking as if you didn't belong on the field with someone on Saturday. We did not look like we belonged on that football field Saturday. And that's a problem for me, because now it seems to be a trend. Now it seems to be we're trending in the direction of being out of position, having costly penalties, losing our cool at the wrong time in the game, costly turnovers. That cannot be the direction a football team takes and win football games in any quality opponent. And that's a problem for me. And a lot of that goes right back to, and to his credit, he owned up to it in the press conference. It goes right back to coaching. The coaches need getting people prepared, and it did not seem like this team was prepared at all.
Harsin is 8-8 as Auburn's current head coach. 3-5 against Power 5 schools. If you're Harsin, what do you look to this week against Missouri? What do you start looking at? What do you address? How do you fix that? Because there was a lot of things, to Ike's point, that went wrong all at once yesterday. Where's the first place you start?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, they say darkness comes before the dawn. It's going to get worse before it gets better. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Whatever corny trope you need to get up for next week's game, I got it here. I got a whole list of them here. I do agree. I agree with everything Ike said. Ultimately, this was kind of like, you can't really make excuses for this loss at all. What you can do is you can control what you do with it.
Right.
Right now, most coaches have caught a beat down once in their coaching career. This was it. You got punched in the mouth, man. You got punched everywhere. You got punched in the mouth, the privates, in the ear, in the throat, everywhere that hurts. You got punched. Yeah. Now, you have to find a way to get your team back up to play what is a bad opponent. A game I identified before the season as one that you absolutely cannot lose. And now I don't think anybody's saying that they feel good about that game, because if you don't execute, you can lose to anybody. Now, I'm really focused on, like Isaac said, he's off QB. I'm not off QB play. I'm not off QB play.
All right, well, I'm not off of QB
Yeah.
play. I'm just not starting there with that's the issues.
Yeah, I think that with the issues that you have, the way that and this is where I don't want to be as a program. I never want to be in a place where we need the QB to be the savior of the program.
We're there though.
I think we're there. Yeah, I think we're there.
That is where we are.
Program. Yeah, all right. So you have to get.
It's not
right.
ideal, but it's reality.
Yeah. But like it is what it is, right? We need the QB to be a savior. It's where the last guy was. I didn't think that was fair to him, but it is what it is. Now, I won't get back into all the offseason stuff because you're in season now. You just got to coach with what you've got. But we'd be remiss if we did not mention that this two QB experiment thing that we have going on. It's about time for it to be over. Pick one and die with that guy or bench him and move on to the next guy.
Right.
Yeah.
You won 2 games and it didn't look great, but you got W's. And this may be an unpopular opinion, but I think, and I was hoping that this coaching staff was not the staff that needed to lose a game this way to learn, but it seems as if this beatdown may be the thing that forces change in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
Now
I think there's going to be a lot of change after this game.
Right. Now you gave one guy a shot, and I've been on the record about how long I think a guy should get to pull it together. This was about it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, this is where we had as the benchmark. It's like, hey, we should know by halftime of Penn State.
By Penn State, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
like what we've got. And you cannot let your season go down waiting on a guy to get. Everybody's got to do their job. Now we can talk about the offensive line and we can talk about these stuff, but at the end of the deal, the players don't make any of these excuses for themselves.
Right.
They don't. So I'm not going to sit here and make them excuses for them either. You need a guy to go out and clearly be better, so that we can clearly say, which we cannot today. We cannot clearly say that guy played a great game, and if it had not been for the offensive line, he would have been better. We can't say that today. We literally can't say that today. So I have questions. Now, somebody asked, I listened to the post-game presser. That's up on our channel if you haven't seen it. Somebody asked, hey, man, was there any talk about Calzada? We had heard reports that we could see him in this game. I think maybe the way they managed the game, the way it played out, they just figured we're not going to throw him out there this week. That doesn't do you any good. This is a guy who started every game in the SEC last year. He doesn't need these end-of-game reps. Let's get him ready for next week.
Yeah,
I'll be damned. Like I said, if we see more of the same this week and we don't see Calzada next week, I will have more smoke for this coaching staff next week than I do this week if that is the case. Ultimately, you saw Robbie Ashford make plays, right? When he could. I mean, he was under. I mean, I think Nathan King put out a stat on all the pressures that happened. A majority of those pressures happened in the second half after Penn State figured out. Blitz the shit out of this quarterback. And we're going to give up a bust here and there, but for the most part, they can't consistently hurt us. So it just is what it is. We'll live with it. The film review is going to be really interesting when you guys see. Normally I would just table the film review until the next day, but I just decided I'm going to go ahead and cut this tonight and just see what I see. And it was tough, man. We didn't make adjustments to their adjustments. There was no plan for after we got punched in the mouth. That's what I saw. And I have questions, man. This is the second year straight I'm questioning this coaching staff about sending a hurt quarterback out there and then claiming you didn't know he was hurt. This is a fair question. Now, I asked him after Mississippi State, hey, man, what happened? Did the training staff say that he was good to go and his ankle was broken? And he said he relied on it. Finley clearly hurt his shoulder at the end of the second half.
Yeah.
First half, right? He rolled out there in the second half, and it looked like it was affecting him. Man, sit him down. Right. I don't get it. Whose job is it to monitor if player can go or not? He's always going to tell you he can go. No player wants to be pulled off the field. So this staff I've supported this staff, but they're not above reproach. Now I want to see what they're going to do with it. Like, listen, if this is what you needed to see, what other people see, so be it. I'm not in the locker room. I'm not at practice. So I can't say for sure. But what I do know is that what we saw on Saturday is going to get the Jets fired up by about the bye week.
Factual.
Yeah.
If it continues. So I yield the rest of my time to B this week.
B?
I couldn't rewatch the game like Ike. Mike, God bless you for taking that upon your shoulders. I can rewatch it. I woke up because my youngest woke up, and my wife, we rock paper scissors to see who's gonna go in there and do the work. You're gonna feed him, okay? And then so she did it. So I do a little something, and she does a little something, and then she sits with him and feeds him and put him back down. So we swapped that out, right? I got back in bed after she started feeding him, and I was up for like 20 minutes. Like, did we just get our ass beat like that on national television? Nah. You ever wake up, you realize after a bad loss, it's like, did something happen? Oh, damn, we got blitzed and embarrassed, didn't we? Shit. And it happened. And I honestly, it took me a minute to go back to sleep. Because I remember like that was the worst loss I've seen us take since it's hard to quantify because we had some losses that we shouldn't have had in years past. This was a loss that we could have had. I don't think anybody would have been like, man, we lost to Penn State. This is the end. It's over if it's a 3-point game. If we show well, if we look good, if we look competent, and like the game plan was at least sound and some things are working, and you lose this game, that's not a blight on Brian Harsin's legacy as Auburn coach. You'd like to get it, but you can understand why we would lose to a team that is talented and well coached. However, losing like that, and at home, there seemed to be a lot of assumptions about what we were going to be based on what we were last year. I think something that I'm starting to take into account more and more is how much change affects a football team. And not just a change in, well, we're missing a couple of guys from last year on the defense, just 1 or 2 guys. We're obviously losing. We lost Roger McCreary and we lost Kobe McLean. So really you had maybe 3 spots to fill in at most, but we got a lot of guys who graded well, who had NFL grades, who could have gone, decided to come back. I was cutting the film to send to Ike and Caesar because I had no plans on watching that film. And the first thing I did was double click a file to make sure, is this a second half? Let me label this the second half. And I just went to a random spot in the second half and I saw that 50 whatever yard run. 13 minutes left in the third quarter. The defense that I saw hold out for 3 3/4 quarter against Alabama gave up the panties less than 2 minutes into the second half. Something's wrong. Something's different. Something's drastically different for that to be the case. You see the first 2 games that we have and thinking, okay, they're getting it going. All right, they're figuring it out. They're trying things. They're holding some stuff back. And Ike was actually in our Slack, and he said they have done some different things, like scheme-wise. It's not just obvious stuff, but it's stuff that I can get into on the film breakdown. It's like, it's okay. But now, we have lost something. And I didn't take into account how much change the position coach change, the overall defensive coordinator change. We assumed that, okay, well, the Schmedding was here and he knows every guy and what they were able to do last year. But yeah, Schmedding wasn't calling the plays. Schmedding wasn't the overall strategist.
Are we over Schmedding called the Iron Bowls narrative?
I mean, we knew that wasn't necessarily the case anyway, but yeah. But looking at the result now, I think there's something that's the thing I take away most from the game is the offensive line has been a sore spot for us for years. Years. 2017 was the last capable offensive line that we had, and it wasn't even great, but it was a decent offensive line. We have been trying to circle in and around that fact by making it about the quarterbacks. Here, this year especially, we had 3 years of a guy who looked the same every year. And we were like, that's it. We can't have the same guy and expect us the same result, a different result. So let's get some different guys in there, which was our only complaint. It was like, hey, let's see what else we got. We are seeing what else we got. And it's the same thing.
Does it look worse knowing that there were guys who did enter the portal at some point this offseason and we just either didn't go after them And we believed and hoped that there would be improvement with this O-line going into this season, only to not see that occur. Does that look worse in hindsight?
Well, to me, it doesn't look worse because I don't think we aren't competitive at offensive line in recruiting. And that's a fact that I understand. We are not a golden destination for offensive line. For defensive backs, we are. For running backs, we are. That may be it. Like everywhere else, we are fighting defensive line. We will recruit pretty well. But those are the three position groups that we are competitive in naturally when it comes to recruiting. Auburn does well with those position groups. We do not do well at linebacker. We have not done well. We will find one or two. Travis Williams did a good job of finding us that one or two. We will find one or two and kind of hope with the rest. Offensive line, we have been down. It doesn't surprise me that people don't want to come here for offensive line. For what? Do you know that coach is going to get you to the NFL? Does Will Friend have? Obviously, he had a lot to prove with this group. Same group, second year under you, and unlike all the other positions, the offensive line staff did not change up, buddy. You've been on these guys for a minute. They didn't change, and now we look worse. I'm not surprised we didn't go after those guys because I don't think we could have gotten them. They made some calls. It's not like they were like another offensive lineman in the portal. Let's not worry about it. No, I'm sure they tried. They put some feelers out there, but I don't think they had much feedback as far as guys wanting to come here. They have to change the reputation of that line either with a new position coach hire, a new offensive coordinator hire, or, if the whole thing gets blown up, it'll be a new head coach hire. That's what it would do.
Yeah, but you can win games in the interim. This whole thing about our offensive line has been dying for years, right?
Right.
I've watched other teams in this conference overcome their offensive line problems with a better scheme and a better game plan.
And better quarterbacks, though?
That's why not even necessarily. Calzada played behind the worst team. He's on our team now. He played behind one of the worst O-lines in the league last year, and they still got 8 games and beat Bama.
That's fair.
Come on, man. This is why I was stuck on game plan yesterday in the post game. I was like, come on. You have to know what your team is. You have to know. As a coach, you have to know what your team is, what their strengths are, and you have to scheme to your strengths and scheme around your weaknesses. They didn't do that. There were no adjustments to Penn State's adjustments. This was a one-score game at halftime, despite what anybody says about the defense. Right. The issue was more the adjustments that they made and we didn't make than it was the players.
And that's, I think, and I talked to Brian about this before the game about what I hoped to see from our offensive game plan. And I saw none of it, which is I wanted to see a lot of quick game to get the ball out of the quarterback's hands quickly to playmakers. Mm-hmm. And what we committed to was a lot of drop back passes and analyzation. And Manny Diaz is notorious for, I'm not going to give your quarterback time to do that. I'm just going to send people at him, and you're going to have to win matchups on the outside. We, for whatever reason, did not account for the fact that the guy on the other side of the field has a say-so as to whether or not you're going to have time to go through these 4 progression reads. Mm-hmm. Get the ball out of his hands, get it in the hands of playmakers, live with 4 and 5 yards at a time. Because if you get 4 yards 3 times in a row, my math tells me that's a first down. It doesn't have to be a big play every time to be effective.
Right. Here's where this coaching staff needs to be better. Here's why my hope is that this blowout is cause for re-examining what you thought. Right. And a good coaching staff can do this. They can say, hey, listen, that was abysmal, right? We need to burn this down and we need to go to plan B. Hopefully there was a plan B. Now, when you talk about in-game adjustments, and, the problem with the quarterback situation is you have one quarterback who you need to change the offense for. Right. That's a completely different offense when he's in the game. All right. Or you need the guy who can make the pre-snap reads and be faster, like Ike is talking about. Get the ball out of the quarterback's hands. You know what this line is by now. Right. Now, if this loss is what it takes for them to get that, I'm with it. The problem with the first half, and this is what I hope we don't see, this would have been the danger of losing a close game, is the danger of thinking it was this close, so let's do that again. We just need to execute better. We're beyond that. It was not close.
Right.
It wasn't even a little close. So now you have to do something drastically different, and you got to figure out which guys are best suited to operate under the conditions of the talent around them.
Right.
That's it. So if it's, yesterday, it was pretty clear to me that it was Robbie Ashford. To me, yesterday, it was pretty clear that it was Robbie Ashford because after Penn State decided we're going to send the house every other play, and we're going to bet on these guys making mistakes, even if we give up a big play here or there. It was pretty clear that was their strategy. Now, to me, you have to know after you play a close first half, and it was pretty even the first half, what they did was they drove down the field and they moved the ball in the first half.
Yeah. We had more yardage than them in the first half.
Yeah.
We had more first downs than them in the first half.
We saw your comment. We saw your comment.
Yeah, they moved the ball.
But we had more turnovers.
The issue was the turnovers and not scoring in the red zone or getting field goals when you got to the red zone.
But my point is, all that was fool's gold. It was not working. And then you came out in the second half thinking you could do the same thing, and they adjusted. So again, like planning for the counterpunch is something that, the better coaches in the SEC are good at, right? They're not going to wait for you to adjust. They're assuming you're going to adjust, and they'll hit you with something different in the second half, and you'll be like, wait, we didn't plan for this. They weren't doing this.
Here's my concern before we get to the break, Mike, because I'm with you on the hope part. I'm not sure if I've seen enough examples that this coaching staff is willing to make that big of an overhaul of an adjustment. Now they're in a situation where they need to and they must. I'm not sure where they go. I'm just not sure where they go from there.
That's my point. My point is that I think this loss is what is needed for that.
Yeah, and I think the thing that you will see is, I think this is the game we finally see Zach Calzada. I think that they're like, hey man, are you good enough to go? We've got to try something else.
Yeah, he's a gamer.
Okay.
He's a gamer. Just put him in.
But also, too, you got to go with what's okay. If you see something that works, use it.
Yeah.
Use it. Like that. Like if we've been hearing about a Camden Brown all fall camp, use them.
Right.
Landon King had an amazing catch.
Yeah.
Use them. Like that's your adjustment right there. Who's playing well? Yeah. Who's doing something? Use them. And if you're not doing that, hopefully this wakes it. I'm with you guys. I'm just concerned as if I see it moving forward. I'm just concerned because based on their slowness to adjust within the game, I'm worried about that.
Let me ask y'all this. It seems that coming out of fall camp that they were favoring experience and seniority over maybe promise, right? I think that's fair to say. Looking at the depth chart and also the playing time. Does this flip that on its head? Last year,
I think it should, man.
I think it should.
Because if the issue, like last year, we made the assumption, and I think this is where you were going to be, Will, and I apologize for cutting you off. I think we made the assumption guys who were talented, we weren't seeing, weren't working hard. There's been no indications that that's the case this year. It's just these people seem to be more. They know the offense, but man, it's time to just go out there and ball, bro. Like I don't care who knows the offense better. Who's gonna ball?
Who's gonna ball on Saturday? Right? Yeah.
Can we go out here and play playground for a minute and throw it up to a 6'4" receiver and have him just out body somebody for the ball? And can we just throw it out here to the flat to a guy who's got some wiggle and let him go make a play? And can we put a quarterback in that? All right, cool. You're gonna send the house. He can outflank you and rush for 6 yards every time you do that. Now you got to do something different. Can we just go ball? Forget the X's and O's, Jimmy's and Joe's. Go out there and ball.
Yeah, right. And that's exactly what I was going to say, because last year it may have been maturity and culture, right? But you flush those guys out. Those cancers aren't there anymore. So all you have left to turn to are guys who are bought in and who are doing what the coaches want you to do. They just aren't the guys you think have the best grasp of it. But now that's not a good enough reason anymore because we got embarrassed. That's exactly what I was going for. Right?
We
Yeah,
see your comment. Yeah, let's get to the break, guys. We see you guys' comments. We will address that soon as we come after. We appreciate your super chats. We will definitely get to that after the break. Guys, share the video, use the hashtag, smash the like button, help us with our engagement. And if you're new to our channel, please hit subscribe. Let's take a moment to pause to acknowledge our sponsors.
This edition of the War Rapport is made possible by our generous sponsors. AuburnSports.com. For news and notes on all things Auburn Sports, head over to AuburnSports.com. Athletic Architects. For young athletes looking to secure their financial futures, let Athletic Architects help you start to build your financial house. Head over to BuildTheHouse.com. And our giveaway sponsor, GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. If you want the best in the business at restaurant logistics, check out our friends at GWT2Energy.com.
Y'all already know the War Rapport is gonna be here. Somebody hit us up yesterday and was like, no need to do the post game today. We just like, nah, we gonna be here regardless, man. We are still here doing what we're supposed to do, which is allowing everybody the opportunity to get in on this great Auburn content, regardless of how we feel like the product on the field was this Saturday. There will be more games and there will be more War Rapport. You can join in on the fun by becoming a member of the War Rapport. $5.99 gets you to patron level, and you can relive pain if you would like to. If you have a sadist quality to you, tomorrow will be your opportunity to exercise those demons and get in here with us and rewatch this game in more detail and maybe actually see some things that are happening. Maybe even give you an opportunity to, have some bright spots for the future. I don't know. We'll see. I haven't rewatched the game yet, but $5.99 gets you to that place. We are looking forward to doing Watch the Film tomorrow. I say looking forward to in a very sarcastic way. Outside of that, man, you all know that we are going to be giving away stuff. Well, you can give away something. If you want to give away a membership to a friend of yours, well, you can't designate the friend, but we call everybody our friend here in the War Rapport family. If you want to gift a membership, all you have to do is go to a desktop and hit the button to be able to gift a membership. You can do that from your browser, and then someone else will get a free month's membership on you, and then they have to pick up the tab after that. We always give away things to our War Rapport family. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments to get a Lobtown t-shirt. As I said at the top of the show, I'm just, my mind is on how good this basketball team could potentially be. So we're just going to get the party started early with the Lobtown t-shirts. Not give it up on the football team, but we still do want to give the t-shirt away. Hashtag get your weight up in the comments. Sponsored by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Now, I know everybody is feeling some type of way. And as Mike said, the Rogue Shop is hooking you up with a little bit something extra. So using code War Rapport on your purchase, you will get 25% off of that purchase. And that is sponsored by our guys at the Rogue Shop.
This episode of the War Rapport is brought to you in part by Rogue Shop. Looking to reduce stress or improve your quality of sleep? Rogue Shop has you covered with a wide range of premium products, including gummies, bath salts, and oils. Go to RogueShop.com and use code RAPPORT when you check out. That way, they know we sent you. All right?
All right, guys, let's get back into it. You guys have been commenting, so super chats, we greatly appreciate it. Johnny B says, I wasn't expecting a perfect team, but I really wasn't expecting to be a dumpster fire.
Yeah, that's about where I was at.
Okay. All right. No objection.
Was expecting a baseline of last year's effort and results.
With some improvement sprinkled in, right?
Right.
Gotcha. Charlie Davidson Jr., appreciate you, man. I've been working Auburn games for 6 years now, and I can't even really describe the feeling I got when that team walked out of that locker room after the half. Fellas, it was as if they was walking into a funeral.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Exclusive TV. Appreciate you, man. All those goals they have set, get rid of them, and let's just play football.
Yep.
Pretty much. Rigger Spoon says, why is it we do not have a quick pass to releasing tight end to neutralize the blitz, where they just slide up the field into the gap and the QB hits them?
Correct. Yeah.
It's a good question. I don't know
question.
the answer to it.
It's a great question.
Yep.
Joe Kyle, question for Ike. Where would TJ start in the SEC except Auburn.
I don't know that I looked at a lot of the other quarterbacks that much. The way that
Missouri.
the way that Missouri plays, he probably fits their offense the best. Texas A&M's quarterbacks aren't very good.
Max Johnson went 10 for 20.
Yeah,
But he had like they
140
had a
yards.
bunch of drops. They were dropping the ball like consistently, almost
But I'm
every
saying
other passing throw.
that TJ could do just as good as
Yo,
Max Johnson.
yeah,
Yeah, I
Texas
agree.
A&M.
Behind,
So Texas A&M, he probably could start there. The only reason I would not say Vanderbilt is just because they rely on his legs too much there at Vandy for him to start there. But as far as being able to throw the ball, he's just as talented as the Vanderbilt quarterback. So we have to get off of this TJ can't play ball thing. That's just not true. It's just not. I mean, and again, there are other SEC schools who don't have good quarterbacks. That is not a thing that is limited to Auburn's quarterback play right now.
Yeah, the question has always been about how perfect do the conditions around him need to be for him to play well. Some guys, it just doesn't matter. They're going to ball no matter what. So other guys, they need a great old line. They need good skill positions.
Right.
Yeah. It is
Your optimism and the optimism we had was that if we're rolling with TJ, that means the coaching staff has saw some things with those conditions around TJ that will warrant his success. We're not seeing a lot of that, so it makes you have to reconsider the whole offense in general, including TJ, despite how well or not well he's playing. All right, Rod May says they attacked Troxel in the second half and also attacked Tate Johnson with cross combos. They look so lost out there on the offensive line.
They did not handle any of the stunts that Penn State was doing well at all. Like, our offensive line looked like they had never seen a pass blocking scheme ever. It was awful. It was bad, man.
So, I mean, we've got how many new starters there? We've got right guard and center, right?
Yeah, right guard and center are the only new starters.
Well, in Killian's ear, this was his first year starting. He started 1 or 2 games last year.
Yeah.
So 3 out of our 5 offensive linemen are relatively new as far as starts in the conference. Inexperience.
I mean, I think so. Unfortunately, and this is going to sound like I'm bagging on Tate Johnson, the unfortunate reality is your center is the quarterback of that defensive line, and he just maybe doesn't have the experience necessary to get everybody in the right situations or understand, how we're going to slide the protection out. And he's still learning that position. Not that, Nick Brahms was some, award-winning center, but he at least had the experience maybe to be able to get people. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is at offensive line, man. I'm literally grasping at straws here. I don't want to put it on anybody in particular. I do know that there's no excuse for Brandon Council getting a personal foul penalty at that position after TJ makes that run. I do know that Austin Troxel has been bad all season as far as getting holding calls, as far as getting procedural penalties, as far as getting beat. He just has not played well. I do know for a fact that we have not played as a unit for an entire game as an offensive line. That's all factual statements. What the answer is, have no clue.
Rick, appreciate the super chat question. Are Harsin staff oblivious to their game day talent relative to those around them? Game day performance warrants scheme and talent change.
Yeah,
and that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. I mean, are they oblivious to it? No. I honestly think that there is, and we talked about this with Josh Payton, this was the perception that has been out there amongst SEC staffs, is that Coach Harsin and company feel as if they can scheme their way out of deficiencies. And a brilliantly schemed play doesn't really matter if that scheme doesn't work against what the defense is doing. And it has to be a scheme that fits the plan that they're attacking you with. And I just don't know that I've seen that. And this might be is Coach Keesaw equipped to be a play caller right now thing? I don't know, man. Like, there's just so many unanswered questions for me right now. Oblivious. I don't know the answer to that. Yeah.
Lisa Wise just checked in, so may have already been covered. Neither our offensive coordinator nor defensive coordinator seems capable of. So if they're going to do that, we could do this in a game. In other words, she's talking about adjustments.
I would agree. It doesn't, this is what Mike was saying about counterpunching, man. Like, you have to anticipate and then punch back, or you get hit and you're like, and it shouldn't take the entire game for that to. And this is one thing, like, I thought we did this well against San Jose State, right? Like, San Jose State, it was clear they went into halftime and they said, We're not going to go out here and be cute. We're just going to run the ball down their throat and go get this W and get out of here, right? And so they made the adjustment, put the ball in Tank's hands, go run. Mercer, they did the same thing. They came back out of the rain delay and they were like, we're just going to run the ball. Just go run the ball and let's get out of here. We're not throwing the ball up here to nobody no more. All these turnovers, go run it. Penn State, that wasn't an option. It wasn't an option to just say we're going to go be the bigger, stronger SEC team and go push these guys around. So this is where that next level, it's like, are we punching out of our weight class now? It's like, yeah, you look good when you was fighting these welterweights and you a heavyweight. As soon as you get into a heavyweight match, you can't just use the fact that you're a bigger dude to win. And so I don't know that we're in that place yet.
Before we get to the next super chat, I do want to ask you guys this, because this has been a consistent response that Harsin has given. When Auburn gets behind, we lose a significant part of our playbook. We now have to throw to get back into games. And while I understand that, if we're still trying to work out our passing offense, doesn't it make sense to incorporate elements of our offense that do work and can actually help our passing offense?
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. 100% it makes sense.
Okay.
But
all right.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think, at the end of the day, if you're going to be one dimensional, the thing that you're saying works, it doesn't work. It doesn't work because they're loading the box against it. So the problem is you just have to do more things right than you do wrong. That's the simple answer to this. The simplest answer here is the truest. Play better football all the way around and more things will work. So if you're really good at running the ball, we don't have the type of offensive line that can just smash up and we can run the ball no matter what.
Right. And that was my point, is that like when you get to the bigger boys, that's not an option anymore. You need to figure something else out.
Correct. Yeah. So you got to be better at more facets of the offense. And then the thing that you are good at or better at will work better.
Christian Crawford says we can't blame TJ for this loss. Bad coaching, horrible offensive scheme. Offensive line was atrocious. Run game was impossible. Limited gaps. I have to take a week off of AU football. See you all Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, we can't blame the loss solely on TJ. The whole team has to own this loss, man. Like if there was a team loss that ever existed, this was the one.
This was one for sure.
Yeah,
for sure. Agreed, 100%. Ben Bloodworth, he says they drove on us with their backup QB,
who is actually really good. So let's not just
Drew Aller
because he's the backup. Like, let's be clear.
Future.
Most people actually like him better than their starter, and he has shown really well in the games where he's played and come in. So
T. Frank also spoke very highly of him too when he was on our show.
The Penn State fans love him.
Yeah, there is a feeling in that fan base that he is the next coming of whoever their greatest quarterback was. Like
Kerry Collins.
All my Penn State friends are just like, they're over Clifford. They don't care what he does. Like, they'll look at Saturday and be like, he still sucks. Give us Drew Aller.
Oh,
yeah. So
Patrick R says, appreciate the super chat. Our defense was vanilla. My question is, were we scared to blitz on defense when the game was in hand?
We were not. So this is like the blitzing that we did wasn't super effective.
Right.
So it's not that we were scared to blitz. We actually played very little zone in this game. They were playing a lot of man defense on the outsides this game. So all of this, we're giving too much cushion stuff. That wasn't really the case this game. We just didn't have a pass rush. And so eventually somebody was going to be open. That was the biggest issue, is that up front, we weren't able to get to Sean Clifford. Like, Sean Clifford only got tattooed when he came outside the pocket. Right. Outside of that, that man's jersey probably didn't get grass stains on it.
Yeah. Rick says game day gamers are greater than practice heroes.
Yeah.
But you got to put them in the game to figure out whether they are that person.
Right. That's it. If you only go by practice, you'll never find out if they are a game day gamer.
For sure. Ghost, appreciate the super chat. Name. If y'all
appropriate name is Ghost, and it just doesn't say anything. It's just there.
Yeah. Christian Crawford again. Appreciate you, man. Says, I think it's ridiculous. I think I already had that one right. No, I think it's ridiculous to suggest TJ can't ball. We have to stop acting like he's the problem. Sure, sure, play Zach, but blaming TJ doesn't solve the problem. Zach will still have an O-line issue.
Yeah.
So,
But
yeah,
again, to Mike's point, certain people handle that O-line pressure a little
much
bit
better. Yeah. It's not, again, our fan base is stuck in this whole, our O-line has to be perfect for any quarterback to be
not
successful.
perfect, but definitely better than yesterday.
Yeah, but
definitely better than yesterday.
But we've seen worse performances in our league with other quarterbacks
equivalently bad.
Yeah,
I don't know that anything was worse than yesterday.
Well, playing at a higher level than what we saw yesterday from any of our quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Right. So if we don't have that guy, I just would argue that based on what he accomplished last year, you're not telling me that what Zach Calzada did last year was a fluke. Texas A&M was near the top of the league in drops, and his O-line was second worst behind Bama's in terms of pressures allowed.
Well, I'll give you this about Zach Calzada coming from A&M to here. A&M's a lot worse than I thought. They're worse than I thought in terms of their wide receivers and their offensive line talent, because I was thinking in mind, we've had this discussion, was last year the down year because they had a great offensive line 2020, takes a step down, and then it comes back up.
That was the assumption.
It's not better. Their offensive line is not better. They can't really run the ball. App State kept them in the box for an entire half, and they scored 7 points. Even if Haynes King is the worst quarterback they've ever had, you should be able to have a good enough line to line up and mash App State. They do not have that line. Jimbo Fisher is a terrible head coach, and him being there and having some success, I think, is probably more a credit to what he was able to endure there as the quarterback than I thought previously. So I am, as they have shown this year, what Texas A&M has shown this year and what we have shown this year, yes, I am now more interested in Zach Calzada getting snaps than I was before, because he doesn't get rattled very easily, and he made some great downfield throws under some immense pressure. So, but maybe that's the problem again. Are we going to depend on downfield throws still? Is it still going to be going for really big chunk yardage? Because to everybody saying, we had a couple comments now, TJ was actually really good throwing the ball when he got it out of his hands. Man, listen, we saw the semblance of a 2-minute drive. We haven't seen a 2-minute drive from a quarterback here it's been so long, dude. It's been so long since we've seen anything like that. A completion over the middle to Javarius Johnson, another one, and the shed turnover was really what slowed that drive down. So we see these pieces, but it's night and day. It's flip-flop, and that's too inconsistent, just like the last guy was too inconsistent. Who's going to be the most consistent? Even if your ceiling isn't high, who is going to be the most consistent so that when we get something going, it's not going to immediately be stunted and undone by turnovers and mistakes?
Yeah, so we're clear. I'm not done on Robbie Ashford. You prepare him to be the starter, I think, this week. I think that's how they finished out this game, is you're preparing him to be the starter this week, and you're making some plan for Calzada at some point, just in case, because Robbie, the way they're running him, he looked, near the end of the game, I don't know if he looked tired or I don't know if you guys noticed, near the end of the game, he looked beat, through no fault of his own. But, in the last game, he came up gimpy at the end. You have to have two quarterbacks in this league. I think you figure out who 1 and 2 is after this one, right?
Have you moved on from TJ then, is what it sounds like?
I think the coaching staff may move on.
I just don't know how.
I don't know how he can be successful under. Yeah, I don't know how he can be
these
successful
conditions. And let's be clear, things TJ did really well: escaping pressure and going getting positive yardage, escaping pressure, keeping his eyes upfield, and going and making completions.
Yes.
The bonehead, and I don't know, boneheaded is strong. Excuse me. The inexcusable and inexplicable turnovers is where I just draw the line of bro, you just can't do these things.
Yeah,
because you're killing yourself and the momentum of the team every time you do it.
Yeah, if you're in his position, you have to play the type of game where you can say, you really can just say, hey, he did the best he could, and it wasn't
enough. Yeah.
It wasn't enough. Yeah, we're not sitting here having that conversation today. Nobody's reasonably saying he did the best he could. Right. And again, the same energy that I had before for perfect conditions cannot be required for above average play, because nobody's going to get that. There are athletes all over the SEC. Right. You're never going to get perfect conditions unless it's a rare cycle like what Bama's 2020 O-line, one of the best I've ever seen. Mac Jones was under historically low pressure. He had no pressure.
Right.
The dude could have did his taxes in the backfield and still completed passes. The next year, it was historically bad, but fortunately, they had a guy who just knew how to deal with that.
Covered all transgressions.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he covered a multitude of transgressions on that offensive line, and he is still doing so to this day. So, find that guy and figure out whether it can be Ashford or Calzada. But at this point, I think 3 games in, it's pretty safe to say I'm not sure that we think that it can be TJ.
And that's unfortunate because I do think that he has played better this year. But again, once you get into the place where he's averaging 2 turnovers a game,
right? That's it.
Like I don't know what to say to that anymore.
Yeah, you still got to win games, and you just can't keep.
You got to protect
everything
the football.
else. Yeah, protect.
For sure.
Yeah, if he protects the football and he's got 1 interception through 3 games, we're probably not having this
Correct.
conversation.
But that's the problem. Like it is,
and this is
to protect the football, man.
This is Jazzy Joe's comment here. Appreciate you, Jazzy. Since the O-line is bad, let the QB that has experience and success with the bad O-line play.
To the detriment of his health. Calzada gave up his knees, his shoulders, everything behind that O-line last year at Texas A&M. I just don't see. I see him, and there was talk of him getting reps with the ones. I really do believe that this at some point the coaches just said, "Let's just call this what it is, and let's prepare for next week."
Yeah,
you take that ass whooping and you move on, right? Like
it doesn't make sense for Calzada to get out there cold, not only in that game but in the offense as far as on-field reps, and then say, "Hey, go save us." I mean, we didn't like that when TJ was put in that position last year. You don't do that to any, especially when your offensive line has been getting eaten alive like they had. You're just throwing them to the wolves, and I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, save them.
Yeah.
Black Wing says, "Can we steal Wisconsin's O-line coach?"
We steal somebody else's
they have a long history of producing really solid O-lines at Wisconsin. So
for sure. Cleveland Brown says there were so many times that a Penn State player went untouched. You would have thought someone hit the paw. Now, this is definitely something, Ike, I'm sure you're going to address in the film review. There were definitely times where Penn State guys would just had
they were in the backfield
red carpet
the minute the shotgun snap got to the quarterback, and I'm just like, what are we doing, dog?
When you watch the film, you'll see they frequently just sent more guys than we can block. They completely sold out to go get the quarterback or stop the run. It was unreal.
The problem that you have, or that I have with that, is that's not an unusual. That's what a blitz is for, right? But there are ways to effectively handle it as an offensive line that we did not do. So you have to block it inside out, right? Like you can't surrender a gap pressure right up the quarterback's face because he can't do anything with that. So if it's going to be an outside blitz, then that's on the quarterback to handle. Like, okay, you got an unblocked blocker, an unblocked person coming off of your left side from the outside. That means you either, to your point, Mike, you have to step up if you're not getting the offensive line pushed back in your face, or you have to throw hot off of that, because that means if they're coming from the one receiver side and you're throwing hot off, you have to understand how to deal. We had 0 blitz plan, and they were selling out to blitz.
I love this comment by Ed Darby. There were a lot of tight formations, which brings more defenders into the box, which gives the defense a lot of zone blitz opportunities.
Yeah. We have the receivers and tight end talent to spread them out more than what we've done. If you know they're going to try to load the box, get more defenders out of the box just by spreading it out. Right. And then you put your athletic quarterback in there, and he's going to have more room. The thing I did like is we brought Robbie into the game, and it immediately changed Tank's and Jarquez's ability to run the ball, because they had to account for the fact that Robbie could potentially take off and run.
Yeah.
It changed the dynamics of what we could do in the run game. The problem is Robbie goes in there and he throws that interception, right? Yeah. But Robbie's he's young. He's gonna do that, right? I expect Robbie to have mistakes and throw interceptions. I don't expect TJ to have those same mistakes and throw those interceptions. And that's the problem, is that Robbie is young and will get better. I don't know that from an interception or taking care of the ball standpoint that TJ's ready to get better yet, because he's doing all the other stuff right. but you got to protect the ball, bro.
Yeah, you got to protect the football.
For sure. Nicholas Frazier, appreciate the super chat. I believe if Robbie had more game reps in week 1 and week 2, after half when the score was 14-6, I believe it could have been a closer game and possibly a win. Just my opinion.
This is my biggest criticism of this staff yesterday. Was similar to Mississippi State last year after Bo got hurt. I'm like, dude, he's clearly grabbing his shoulder and he's doing all this stuff on TV. And I'm like, you can't tell me nobody on the field saw that.
Right.
And then you send him out there, it's going to affect the way he throws the ball. He had like it was like an out to somebody on the near side of the field where the camera's at.
He ground balled it.
Yeah. And I was just like, okay, his shoulder's hurt. Let's get him out of here and get the next guy in. And I thought if you were going to save the game, that was and keep it close, that's when you had to do it. Right. But they gave up that drive, and then Penn State scores on the next drive. And then they just keep scoring, and the game's out of hand before the end of the third quarter. The quick adjustments is something we talk about, players adjusting and getting better. I'm telling you, it's hard as a player to overcome a bad scheme or a bad game plan. And we didn't make any adjustments that I saw that were worth a damn in that second half. None.
For sure. Joe Kyle says TJ may not be the problem, but we can't solve the problem on our offense with him. His skill set is a mismatch for our talent, the supporting cast around him. I agree with this.
I 100%
I agree with that, Joe.
Yeah, it's a mismatch for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. I see Waltz. I may want to address Waltz after the giveaway. All right, let's go ahead and get to the giveaway.
Hold on, wait. Before we get to the giveaway, because I've been holding something for 30 minutes.
Okay.
You got to go pee?
You're right.
Might as well. I see a lot of fans who were like, this is the worst loss I've seen in 6 years and 10 years and this. And I was like, well, I've been a fan a little bit longer than that. So I remember 2003 USC game 1. I remember this like it was yesterday. Junior Rose Green comes into the athletic department while I'm cutting film and highlights. And my boss looks at him and says, you guys gonna win the game? And he's like, yeah, we're gonna beat their ass. Right. And everybody felt good. The energy before the game was electric. It was amazing.
A lot of promise that year.
Preseason number 6. USC came in 17. We didn't score a point in that game. Mm-hmm. It looked as bad as it could possibly get, and that was game 1. These kind of beatdowns happen. That team still went on, pulled it together to win 8 games. Right? The Knowles-Minger offense disaster that was, it happens. And we almost fired that coach. People were done with Tuberville that season. And he found a way to pull out some late season wins and get 8 games. Or 2004 never happens. Never happens. So I'm not saying that this staff will do that. So that everybody says, oh, you're saying it, blah, blah, blah. Well, listen, at the end of the day, nobody after USC that year thought the rest of that season was possible. Nobody. And if you say you were one of those people, you're practicing revisionist history. You're only looking at the outcome because if you were there, you remember vividly what it was like before. People were even more down after we got goose-egged at home than yesterday. The only difference was we didn't have Facebook and Twitter and all these things for people to overreact on. But it was bad. I've never seen 90,000 people so quiet after a game than after we got goose-egged at home versus USC.
And then we came back the following week.
And didn't score another touchdown.
Against Georgia Tech.
Right. They literally ripped the goalpost down and threw it over the side of the stadium after they beat us. This is a real story. Game 3, we play Vanderbilt. And Tuberville was a quiet guy at practice. And he came in and he said, I'd never seen him so fired up at practice. He was like, I'm sick of this shit. There's 2 games that we had scored a damn touchdown. We're going to go up to Tennessee. We're going to whoop their ass, and we're going to do it on national television. And what he meant by national television was Jefferson Pilot.
Which was the worst.
Which was
way to watch
regional
an Auburn
television.
game.
Yeah, that's
Regional
all.
television.
That's all. Right? Because it sure as hell wouldn't know ESPN. But they won that game. I remember Jarris McIntyre bounced off a guy to score the first touchdown of the season. And they dug deep, man, because that team had heart. It didn't start the way that they planned, but they had heart and they dug deep. The coaches dug deep and they found a way to get through that season and get 8 wins and beat Bama. Brian Harsin, I know you don't watch the show because you got things to do. But if there's somebody close to you that watches it, my message to this staff is do that.
Yeah.
Dig deep. Find the heart. Get it out of this team. Nobody,
Because I believe they have it.
right. Nobody phones in their season after week 3.
Right.
Find it. Because I saw a staff that everybody counted out do it.
Right.
And I believe these guys are good guys and they want to, but like, man, eat your ego and just admit we had a bad plan. Let's rip this thing up. I remember, ask Tuberville. He'll tell you Nolsminger was a mistake. It wasn't, there was no, we need to execute better and all that stuff.
He admitted it months later when he brought in Al Borges.
Right. It was a mistake. We needed to go a different direction. Find a way to get the win because, listen, this ass whooping only gets you down if you follow up with a dud the next week against Missouri.
Right.
Because in college football, you're only as good as the last good thing you did. And right now, the last good thing you did was Ole Miss last year. Figure it out.
Which game was like Arkansas or Ole Miss?
Ole Miss, I think.
Ole Miss last
game.
Ole Miss. He's right. Of the first half of Ole Miss.
Right. That was the last good thing you did. That was the last Power 5 team you beat. Figure this shit out, man. So it's time. It's time. I believe they can do it. I'm not ready to phone in the season, but God damn it, if it's not crunch time. Now, does this put more pressure on Brian Harsin? I think you just got to go win games. He needed to beat Missouri the same amount that he needed to beat before Penn State. A loss to Missouri was always going to be unacceptable. Right. So it just doesn't matter. But put your ego to the side and look at what you guys have done and rip this mofo up, man. Light a fire under your team. The same way Tuberville said, it's been 2 games that we haven't scored a damn touchdown. But I'll be damned if we go out like some punks. Show me that. And I can stay behind this coaching staff. I'm telling you. Because if we never ride that out, we don't get one of the most historic seasons in Auburn football history. And everybody can, people will watch this later and at me at Twitter and say, oh, well, you're trying to say Brian Harsin is Tommy Tuberville. Well, nobody thought Tommy Tuberville was Tommy Tuberville that year.
Yep.
Right.
Nobody. And if you're saying you did, you're a fucking liar.
Ooh.
You're lying. You're lying. I heard it. They fired up the Jets. People got fired over how they handled it. Light a fire under their asses, man, and get after it. There's talent on this team. These kids that have worked their ass off all offseason deserve better. They all deserve better. Figure it out, man. $5 million a year. Figure it out. I'm still with them. I'm still with them. I'm still
you
with
got to
them
be
until
with
I'm
them.
not. Yeah, I'm still with them until I'm not.
You got to be with them because he's not going anywhere just yet. The last coach that left this program in the middle of the season was Terry Bowden. He did that after he started the year 1-5. That was 3 decades ago, 24 years ago, and he left. He didn't get fired. In 2012, a decade ago, when a coach probably should have been fired in the middle of the season, he waited to the end of the year.
Yeah.
It's a long time between here and December.
Right.
You might as well fix your attitude and support these kids.
Yeah, nobody. Listen, we've seen tons of bad losses in college football in the first 3 weeks. Worse than what happened versus a Power 5 team.
Definitely.
We saw people lose to Group of 5 teams, and nobody is phoning in their season after that loss.
Right.
Auburn shouldn't either. And if you're a fan and you're phoning it in for them, I'm not gonna curse at you, but like,
Again.
come on, man, be
I
better.
was about to say again, but yeah.
Be better. Be better. Like, I just it can't, like, we can't, you don't have to, you can be out, you can be skeptical and nervous, because I think all of us are.
Right.
It is. I'm not saying you have to be sold on it, but I'm telling you, phoning it in after week 3, man, that's a hard way to live your life. You know,
Well, to be clear, most of the ones that have phoned it in after week 3 phoned it in the offseason.
last season they phoned it in the offseason.
Yeah, they were done well before this game.
Right.
Yeah. But listen, I'll like, people are going to be like, there's too many people who will ride this. He sucks, and we're not going to win 5 games, just so that they can eventually be right about. And then they hide behind the whole "I hope I'm wrong" statement. No, you don't hope you're wrong. You don't. Stop saying that. You don't hope you're wrong. You hope you're right.
You hope you're right.
You hope you're right, so that you can be right.
And for those who feel right, how do you feel today? Your
Right.
team's still lost.
Oh, they're giddy.
So how do
and that's
you
the thing.
feel?
That's what's crazy is like they're super giddy about it. Like, see, I told you guys. And it's like,
Go to therapy.
Yeah,
Go to
man.
therapy.
Yeah. It's too many people who just want to be right about what their original take was. And
Go
I will tell
to
I'll,
therapy.
Yeah, and I will just tell you, at the end of the day, I hope that, those people will have to eat all their criticism. I do, because this people, I like the idea that people can improve, that people can learn, and that goes for coaches and players.
Right.
And I will be in until I'm out. I will be in until I'm out, guys.
he's not going to be halfway out, is what he's trying to tell you. He's not hanging halfway out the bag like a McDonald's hash brown.
Right.
He's either in or...
I will be in until I'm out, right? I will let the play on the field and the results be the thing. But this whole projecting in week 3, it's not something I'm going to do. It's not something I'm going to do. To each their own, but I am not going to project in week 3 that the season is lost after a bad loss. I've watched Auburn football for too long, and I've seen us have bad losses. I've seen our coach, it was 06, 07, bench the whole O-line.
Yeah.
Bench the whole O-line because it wasn't going well, and put in all starting freshmen.
And beat Florida on the road.
Caesar,
who was ranked.
come on, man.
Yeah.
Come on. I've seen it
Yeah.
happen. So it can happen.
Yeah.
I
For
don't Ricky,
Listen, we're in on football, guys. But make no
But-
mistake, we're giving away a basketball t-shirt today. Lobtown, hashtag get your weight up.
but stay positive.
Stay positive while you enter to win this Lobtown t-shirt for basketball. Ike, take it away, sir.
Let's do it. We're giving away the t-shirt today, sponsored by GWT2 Energy Consulting Services. Hashtag get your weight up to win this thing. The winner for today is going to be Brandon Thomas. Brandon Thomas, if you are here, let us know in the
Please let
comment
us
section,
know
because
that
if you
you-
don't let us know, we will move on and let somebody else get this here shirt.
Guys, let's keep going with some of the supers. Walt, appreciate you, Walt. When you look for hope in the future, I don't see it in the recruiting class, and I don't think potential recruits saw it yesterday.
The only reason I disagree with I don't see it in the recruiting class is because I do like the recruits we have. Where
Right.
I don't see it is in offensive line recruits.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
That's where I'm worried.
Yesterday
Agreed.
was
And
a
I-
bad look for recruits, for recruiting. It was a bad look for recruiting.
Agreed.
Well,
All
it
of
depends on how you spin that, because honestly, playing time has been, if you come up, you ask people who interview recruits a lot, they say playing time early is just as big a factor as you're going to be in the playoffs every year.
Yeah,
It
but it don't matter
matters.
if you don't know what you're doing with talent, though. Like, if you
But
look
see,
inept in coaching,
That's the difference. The difference is they think I'm the difference. You don't have the talent. I am the talent that you need to get what you want. Because if you look at Auburn's O-line, you're like, man, those guys getting blasted. They aren't me. They need me. I know y'all need me. The coaching staff is calling me, telling me every day, every week how much they need me. And there is a very easy bridge to gap between I am what you are missing, so you can be as good as you
No,
want to be.
I don't think that's an
in.
easy gap at this point, man, because you got
I think
other
it's very
coaches in the you got
Yeah, I
other
was about to
coaches
say
in the
that.
SEC
I was just about to say
that
that.
are telling them, listen, you can go there and you may start, but your career is going to be over. You're going to be hurt.
That's actually not what they're telling them. What they're telling recruits is, if you commit there, there's no guarantee the guys that recruited you
are going to be
still
there.
going to be there when
that-
they're
that-
ready to play.
That's
what they're telling them.
and that's a self-inflicted wound on our behalf. That's nothing that Harsin could help.
Yeah,
But
playing time is not your at this point. Playing time is not your. You come here and you'll fit. I mean, if you watch Saturday, you saw so many deficiencies. What we see now is that these guys, they want to play with other stars. Right. They want to play with other guys. They want to join the all-star team. It's the LeBron, D Wade, Chris Bosh effect.
It's the free agency approach.
For sure. These guys get together now and they talk about what schools they're going to commit to, and they say, "Hey, let's all go to Georgia and dominate."
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, and right now, I don't think any recruits are saying, "Hey, we're going to go to Auburn and change this around." You're looking at what the coaches are doing, and you're saying
the coaches are trying to sell them on being able to do that. That's still a tough sell.
Yeah, it's a tough sell at this point, based
especially
on what you put on the field.
Ineptitude.
Yeah, I think it's tougher after last week, but I don't think that need is a bad thing. Showing that
it's not. It's not. It's just there are other factors that can undermine.
Yeah,
that.
you need to pair that with something. You needed to pair that with a tough, close game.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Like
the Iron Bowl.
Like the Iron Bowl.
Position.
The Iron Bowl last year. We lost that game, but if you're Keontae Scott, you saw the environment, the fans were engaged,
right?
We were really close. I can be that guy. I could perhaps be that difference maker that changes the whole game, right? But if it's a blowout, you don't have that same feeling.
Yeah, you're like, I ain't going to play with these bums. I'm going someplace else.
Right. Yeah. Really Cozy says King should have had a 50-50 ball each red zone trip.
Brown should have had them. I mean, what? All right.
I was not. We see Kevin Brown yesterday.
He was on the field.
Yeah, he didn't get any targets. I am not at all happy with our red zone offense. Don't like it at all.
Yeah. It needs to be in the whole let's rip it up jar that they have this week. Like at the coaches meeting, they need to just pull one from the hat and say, "Yep, offense, let's redo that." Defensive, blitz, let's do that, redo that. Quarterback, let's figure something out. Like
it's been a super chat Sunday. We appreciate you guys. I'm trying to get to these as best we can. Ghost says time to stop making excuses for average QB play.
I'm there with you. I'm 100% there with you. At the end of the day, let's go, man. It's no more excuses for anybody. Get it done.
Do we have a non-average QB is the question.
Well, I mean, that's up to those guys to decide that. My point is that so many kids at this level never get a shot. They sit on the bench for 3 years and they never get a shot to prove it. And if you get a shot at this level, consider yourself lucky and blessed to even have a shot to get on the field, because nothing is owed to you in life, right? All you can do is take advantage of the snaps that you're given, right? And if you're Robbie Ashford, you have a huge opportunity. I tweeted near the end of the game, this is his chance. I think he showed just enough under the circumstances of that beatdown to say, okay, let's figure out a game plan for him next week, right? And let's make sure
that's actually a really good point. It would be different if they were game planning for him as the full-time starter.
Correct. Yeah. Let's figure out a game plan for him next week. And let's get him figure out a version of this offense that he can run that is suited to his talents. And you have to let him throw the ball. Robbie's got to learn how, when he's amped up, to get some of those passes down. And he can be dangerous, man.
And that comes with time.
Ultimate dual threat. Yeah. So is it going to click? My fear for him is that is he going to be a guy who just needs 2 starts to do and 2 whole games to do it? Or is he a guy who needs 8 games to do it? Because I don't think he's going to get 8 games under these circumstances.
And I think that's my I don't want to say fear, because we've talked all off season and I made this point. You got to invest in the guy early, and then you're going to get the best version of that guy as soon as possible. Now, everybody's irate at this loss. The staff has to answer some questions. They have to debate whether they're going to go with a different guy, change the scheme up. Whoever gets the start for Missouri now, if Robbie Ashford needed fall camps, first team reps, and 3 or 4 games for the light to come on and we start clicking at full velocity, is he going to get that now? No, he throws another interception as the starter.
Right.
And now everybody's going to be at his neck too. When really it's unfair. I don't want to say unfair. This is football. Football isn't necessarily fair. what they need to be their best selves as a player, they're not going to get that. I don't think any of them are going to get that. And that's the unfortunate result, because everybody now is so on edge because of a huge blowout loss that what it was going to take for us to get to where we need to be, as with Robbie at the helm, or with TJ at the helm, or with Calzada at the helm, none of those guys are going to get it if everybody's on edge. And now we're ready to pull anybody. As soon we had all this heat for TJ, the fan base did. And then when Robbie threw that INT, I'm onto it. I'm like, man, now Robbie needs to go to wide receiver? Word, really? He doesn't get the benefit of starter reps in fall camp, in practice, starting games, running the whole offense. None of that, huh? He throws an INT, and now you want him in a different position. This is the problem now that we face, more so than do we have the right pieces on the team. It's now you have to invest. There is no quick switch, which is why I'm so frustrated seeing Lane Kiffin and Hugh Freeze being brought up. Stop looking for a quick fix to a situation that is so critical and to the core of what we are as a program. Everybody wants a one-year Gus Malzahn turnaround. That was a fluke. It was a fluke, which is why it didn't happen again for 7 more years. We have to rebuild. The time it takes to rebuild, nobody wants to do it. So everybody's looking for it's Robbie Ashford. Oh, he threw a pick. Oh, moving to wide receiver. Let's see what Calzada's got. Let Calzada throw a pick in the next game. Now it's going to be, we've never had any talent here ever. Then it's going to be something completely different.
Play the freshman. That's what's going to be the next. And play Hogan.
Right. And then they're going to be asking for him like he's any more prepared to play. Even if he is the best long-term project on this team, talent-wise, he is still a long-term project. And he's still going to be playing behind the offensive line that we see has serious deficiencies, playing with wide receivers he has no rapport with, and some of the same problems will still be there. So I agree, we need to see what these other guys have, but honestly, we need to make a choice and invest, and then the fan base just needs to ride with whatever that choice is, because it's going to be ugly in the short term. It has to be if we're going to get better. I don't think we have a transcendent talent at QB. That's what everybody wants. We haven't had that since Nick Marshall. Have not had a transcendent QB talent since Nick Marshall. If everybody is willing to accept that, then you've got to be down with the plan to let these guys get their lumps, figure out how to be better players, and then we will be rewarded on the back end. But the fan base doesn't seem to be that patient with it.
Same?
Yeah.
They're not. Ghost. No excuse for Tank only having 9 touches.
I don't care if he had 25 touches. It wouldn't have changed anything.
It wouldn't.
It wouldn't have changed anything Saturday.
I think I will. So 9 carries, I will agree. But we need to find better ways to get Tank the football for sure.
Yeah, that's a scheme issue though.
Yeah,
that's a scheme issue. The game plan, scheme and game plan.
And that I think we can agree with on that. We have to figure out a way to get our playmakers the ball continuously, because Penn State sure did. The Rock 1984. Appreciate the super chat. Lots of talk of firing Harsin. Agree or disagree? It will take the most we have ever spent on a coach to fix what has been AU football for the past decade and deal with our boosters. Right now, there's no AD in Harsin's corner.
Let me ask you this: how much is Texas A&M spending on Jimbo right now?
Too much.
$10 million a year,
Yeah.
the biggest buyout in college coach history. It's not about the money. It's about the dude. It is about the dude. The right dude is not the same as a big money coach, because there are a lot of names being thrown out that I wouldn't want to see. I remember the last coach search, Bob Stoops. Bob Stoops? Bob Stoops? No Bob Stoops.
You don't want Gruden?
No. God, no. Is there a better coach? Because what we've done through this whole Harsin's very short tenure here has shown that you're not going to get autonomy. You're going to get players and maybe even coaches thrown on you, and you don't get a choice. And if you don't do what we like, now we're going to kneecap you and make your job even harder, and then blame you for not doing your job well enough once we've kneecapped you and made your job hard to do. Now you have to deal with that. The only balance I can see is they're going to have to overpay severely a qualified coach to come in and clean up the mess and promise autonomy at the same time. Now, do you think that this group of administrators will be willing to do that? I don't know. They weren't willing to pay the buyout to get what they wanted for Harsin. So why do I want to believe that they want to overpay a qualified name and reputation and give him autonomy? I don't know. I don't think they'd be willing to do it.
No, I mean we would have had Steele if we didn't stop it, right?
You know what? That's a good choice. Everybody's ready riding for the boosters' decisions. They wanted Kevin Steele and Mike Bobo running this team. Y'all cool with that? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mm.
Walt says DBs have to learn how to wrap up when tackling. Actually, all of the D needs to do that.
I don't recall a lot of DBs having that issue. The linebackers definitely have had that issue. I have to go back and look and see how many defensive backs missed tackles because they didn't wrap up. Because the one that's glaring in my brain was the tight end that got away on the quick swing pass, and it was Lord have mercy, 32 linebacker.
Oh, Steiner.
Steiner went out there and hit him, but didn't wrap him up.
Yeah, for sure.
It was the one that's sticking out in my mind.
He was going to wrap him, but somebody took him out low, and it kind of changed where he ended up landing it on.
Well, no, the guy jumped when Steiner was coming in to try to tackle him.
Because he was jumping over the other defender.
So
and Donovan got there at the same time, but to avoid a collision with Steiner, he kind of pulled back, and Steiner missed him, and the tight end just went up the field. All right, guys. Johnny B says, "Is Harsin gone if AU loses to Missouri?"
I think we never have to find out the answer to that, but but again, I think we've stated early in the season this is the game you can't lose. Right, Missouri's the one that you should not lose. So we'll see.
Rick says, "I was in the stands for USC 2003. I'm sorry that you were there, Rick." James Jordan says, "Outside zone runs, screens, and play action scenes." We only saw, I think Pro Football Focus had us as having one play action. We may have had more when you look at the film, but where was the play action in this game?
I mean, you have to run the ball in order to play action. You have to be able to pass protect to play action. It's hard to play action when you've got pressure coming in the first 2 seconds of you dropping back.
Well, later in the game, obviously, yeah.
Yeah, when they're living in the backfield, play action is going to be the death of you.
Yeah.
So, unless you're running some kind of misdirection or screens or something to kind of like capitalize on them over pursuing, it's again, I have so many questions now that like Penn State kind of laid the blueprint for coming after Auburn. And I think that now that you know that, you have to adjust and you have to just accept what your team's weaknesses are. Don't ask these guys to go out there and do something that they're just not capable of, right? Figure out something that they can do and scheme around their weaknesses and help cover them up, man. And that goes for the O-line, the QB, the receivers, everybody. I think that we saw our talent was equal to Penn State's talent for one half, but our scheme wasn't equal to their scheme for the second half of that game. And, it made the players look worse than they are in actuality because everybody blames the players. But I'm telling you, man, they had a scheme issue Saturday. Badly.
I mean, listen, everybody's got to own this loss. It starts with the coaches 100%, but the players didn't play well either.
Yeah, agreed.
They just didn't. I mean, you can scheme however much you want to. That scheme didn't throw an interception. That scheme didn't fumble the football. That scheme didn't get false start penalties. That scheme didn't get holding calls. That scheme didn't get procedural penalties. It's that part is not a scheme issue.
Yeah,
that scheme didn't get personal foul penalties after the whistle was over with. That's not a scheme issue.
Not all of it, man. But like a lot of it starts with scheme, man. Like
no, I'm not disagreeing with that. Yeah. I'm just saying that there's a lot that everybody has to own this, not just the coaches. Everybody's got to own this one.
Right. Papa J says, I love these fools. They keep saying that we have no talent. Lies.
Yeah, there's talent on this team. There's plenty of talent.
For sure. Painful says, passing the collection plate around for Preacher Mike.
Oh, man. My mom is going to be upset. See, watch this one.
Rick says, payday loans will be needed to cover Mike's swear jar deposits at this point.
Charging hella interest.
Or decaf, Mike.
Yep. Sucks.
Brandon is here. So, Brandon, we need you to email us business@the-war report. Business@the-war report. We need your physical address and shirt size. And we want to let you know, congratulations, good sir. Congrats again. Still got a lot of comments to comb through. Thomas Jones, appreciate the super sticker, sir.
Didn't
Lance,
see the comment, so sorry.
Didn't see the okay.
Yeah.
Lance Morgan says, "Do you bench turnover TJ at this point?
Turnover TJ. Wow.
And do
That
you
hurts.
look at Zach at this point, at least for
Yikes.
the 2 spot? Apparently, he took I guess third of the first team reps this past week. Kind of talked about that already. We kind of addressed that you have to kind of assess what you got and look towards Zach as part of your change in offense. Exclusive TV. I feel like this was a wake-up call for them. If they want to, they can win out the rest of the season if they get their act together.
You know, it could be a very unifying loss, a very painful, but it could be an inflection point. The question that I think I will have going forward is, I wouldn't be surprised to see Penn State actually do something in the Big Ten this year. And some of this will be like, well, maybe what if we actually lost to a really good team? Because everybody's convinced we lost to a very mediocre team. They were a mediocre team last year. We could have won that game last year. This year, they seem to have plugged holes that were deficiencies. Their bad got better. And one thing that we thought was a fluke was their QB being able to throw against us like that. And he almost did it again. He's just efficient. They may be better. And I think preparing us for big boy play, that's what it could end up being. That, hey, y'all thought y'all were ready, y'all were not. This is what it's like. Now get ready. And it could be much better here. I'm hoping that this is that, at least. I'm hoping it is.
Indeed. Lance Morgan says 2 best throws, Robbie to Malcolm on the seam, TJ to King 50-50 ball. We need more of those throws with quicker reads.
Quicker reads, definitely.
For sure.
100%. Yeah, help this line out.
Imani Smoot, good to see you, man. War Eagle, after taking that behind whooping, I woke up sore. I want us to play with tempo and more QB 3-step drops. Auburn till I die. Here's some good news. God is good.
All the time.
Yes, he is. James Barnett says no big name coach is coming to Auburn just to get bought out a year or two later after one bad game.
Yeah, like listen, no big name coaches coming to Auburn to be told what to do. Right. Yeah, that's the line there. Right. It was what Brett Venables said when he was asked about the Auburn coaching search, which was the most telling thing, that our powers to be don't seem to care that that's the narrative, which is what is so frustrating about this. Who would I be working for? I don't know who I'd be working for.
Right.
That's crazy. That's a crazy statement to make.
Right. Jazzy Joe says, y'all know where I'm at, so weird challenge. My truck is 2.5 years old. How many miles does she have? If you're within 50,000 miles, I'll give $300.
She got about 400,000 on it.
700,000.
400,000.
I feel like this is Price is Right. Should we go 1 mile? I'm gonna go with 630,000 miles.
So we had 700, 630, and what'd you say, B?
Wait, if I'm going 700, see, you should go 600 because down to 650 is covered within 50,000, right?
Yeah.
So let's spread our net a little wider.
6. Okay, yeah. Let's go 6.
And what it might go?
400.
All right, so I'll go 500.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. As long as it's over 350,000, we're good.
Teamwork.
Yeah.
Teamwork. Yeah, for sure. All right. Joe Kyle says, great and passionate monologues, great commentary, and super chat discussions. Joe, we appreciate you hanging out with us.
Yeah, for sure.
We appreciate you, buddy. War Eagle to you. Let's get to some of these other comments. Devin21, I just don't understand how anyone can succeed in this toxic environment. Apparently, it was a foregone conclusion that if things went south, he would be out mid-season. Like, what the heck are we doing?
Yeah, I mean, if you're already talking about firing him before he's done anything, after you torpedoed his offseason as well, too. Like, let's be clear, they torpedoed his offseason.
Yeah.
100%. It was tough. I just wonder if, we're at a point where, okay, we messed it up. The reason why I have a hard time moving on from Harsin is if the same people are in charge, is it going to be the same result? just with a different guy?
Right.
Right? Are we going to be able to do this coaching search in a way, get a good guy, promise him autonomy, full autonomy to do the job the way that he sees fit, and then pay him top dollar while paying another buyout? According to Alan Green, the buyout, Gus's buyout, was an issue for the whole athletic department. So, you know, there's a bunch of narratives about, you know, boosters writing checks for buyouts. And, you know, Alan was telling us if that money came through, it didn't come through the athletic department. They got funneled through some other way. So, you know, it affected the way we spent money on other programs. And I just feel like this is going to be hard, right? Are you going to be able to go out there and pay $6-7 million a year for a Brian Kelly type of name in terms of accomplishment at the Power 5 level? Can you spend that money? And who is
the coach? Like, even if you can spend it, who's the coach that wants to come accept it?
Right. You're going to have to make a very public statement of support. And like, you're going to have to promise that you're going to get out of his way and let him coach.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, I appreciate this comment from Devin. She interacts with us at a high rate on Twitter and all our other social medias. It's, you know, we've talked about, her and I have talked about this. It's the toxicity of what is going on here was one of the things that made me pull for Harsin the same way I pulled for Tuberville. Because he was running his program, and I'm telling you, Tuberville was not about the good old boy system coming in and wrecking and telling him how to do his job. It almost got him fired, right? But he made the adjustments. He found a way to win the games, and Harsin is going to have to pull a similar type coup to survive, I think, based on.
I guess my question is also too is, I mean, we can question. We can question, will a coach who wants to do things his way ever come to Auburn? Will they ever look for will that ever be the case at Auburn? That we have a guy who's his own man? Because as much as we praise Tuberville, that never put him in good graces with power people.
Right. And as soon as the program weakened a little bit, the wind started ticking down, they really started reapplying pressure.
Yeah, they got him out. I mean, they got him out of there. The people who he slighted in 2003 by having the nerve to beat Alabama, they didn't forget.
Right.
Yeah. They didn't forget. So when 2008 rolled around, it got just bad enough. Now, mind you, Tuberville really kind of went out on his own terms. Like, he coached that program, and I think he was overcoaching at that point, and it was time for him to move on to something else. But Harsin just, I mean, any coach that comes here, I think, deserves the same leeway if you're going to hire him. Otherwise, what you have is you're either hiring and you're trusting these people to identify up and coming coaching talent. But still, man, if you're an up and coming coach, are you really the coach if you're being told what to do?
If you got a hand up your back.
Yeah, it just doesn't work, man. Like, if you're an up and coming coach, all the things that you did to get to the point to where they would want to hire you, you want to keep doing those things. So alignment of vision is going to be something that's really important. Now, not only have to identify that guy, we have to hope that that guy's vision aligns with the people who are hiring him. And, you know, when Saban came into Alabama, I mean, he was pretty clear. I'm going to do this my way. Now, he won quickly, so they had to get out of his way. By year 2, they had to get out of his way. But trust me, there were some egos in there that just they weren't going to let him do it. You know what I mean? If he didn't win enough games, and then after a certain point, he was above reproach. There's zero way you can argue with his process after like almost 20 years there.
Yeah, right. For sure.
And you know, it's tough. It's, you know, they deal with this other places for sure. But at Auburn, I just hate that this is what we're known for.
Right.
I hate that we're known for this meddling and these people who essentially just are holding the program back from actually getting someplace. Or hire somebody to do the job. Hire an AD that you believe in, and then get out of his way and let him do the job. Let him find a coach. Give him the resources to do it his way, not the resources to do it your way. Right. You know, in my last job, I had, you know, my bosses, you know, we got bought out by another company, and they had all these things in place. And as a director, I would say, like, what do you guys need a director for? You don't need a director. Because you're telling me you have to do A, B, C, D. There's no room for any improvisation. what it is. I'm a process pusher, and I don't think you can be successful at this level and have a coach that's a process pusher. I don't. He's got to be the one coming up with the processes. He's got to be the one inventing and reinventing what you do. Because if you had somebody who could do that on your board of trustees, then they should be the damn coach.
Thank you.
Right.
Suit up.
Put on a headset and figure out how to get it done.
And I just think that's real cowardice because you don't want that smoke. So stop putting people in the line of fire and handcuffing them.
And then blaming them for your decisions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only person I know who did that was Greg Popovich in the NBA. He was actually the GM responsible for hiring a coach, and then he hired himself. 5 championships later.
Listen, guys, after much analysis, I've decided I am the best man for the job.
Greg Popovich was the original MCU Thanos.
Yeah.
He was like, fine. I'll
do it myself.
5 championships.
Oh my God.
Alabama prep. And then we just talked about it. He asked, what if they hire Tim Jackson?
I don't know anything. I don't know much about Tim Jackson. I keep hearing his name.
I hear all negatives when I hear Tim Jackson. I don't know
God.
much about him. I don't hear a lot positive about
what
Tim
makes
Jackson.
him toxic. Alabama prep. What makes him toxic?
Or anyone in the comments, what makes Tim Jackson toxic? Yeah, put us on game. But I do hear a lot of negatives. I just want to know what you're saying.
Listen,
you think.
I will work hard to get that interview for you guys. We'll start that building report off. Mr. Jackson, our chat says you're toxic. Care to comment?
Right.
Care to comment on that?
Grand opening, grand closing with Tim Jackson. And Nicholas Frazier, could we be overthinking now? We didn't rush well. We had unforced turnovers and didn't score touchdowns when in the red zone. These are just fundamental errors that need to be corrected. Any thoughts? Ike, you kind of talked about it because you said earlier in the show, we're making mistakes that aren't aligned with how Harsin speaks when he's in his pressers and the things he preaches. It's not translating. You kind of talked about that early on in the show. That has to be corrected moving forward. You have to imagine so, right?
Yeah, I think we mentioned all of these. The unforced turnovers, not scoring in the red zone, fundamental errors. Like, these issues are a matter of what Mike has been harping on, which is scheme and play calling. And then what I'm talking about, which is player discipline, which, to my point earlier, that has to go back to coaching a little bit. Like, you have to be a disciplined team, and discipline shows itself in preparedness and how you've gotten your guys ready to do whatever you've planned to do when they get out there on the field. If they're not ready, listen, you shouldn't. We haven't even been on the road yet, guys.
Yeah.
We haven't played a road. We haven't played in a road environment yet, and we have had a ton of mental mistakes.
Right.
And our first road game of the season is Georgia.
We need, you guys will know what I mean. We need 6 points in that one, guys.
More than 3.
We need 6 points against Georgia. That's all.
Hilarious. That's all we need. We said we're going to celebrate that. We're going to celebrate. Remember that South Park episode? Was it a South Park episode where I think they was playing a football game and they got beat like terribly? They were like, "We beat the spread," and they celebrate and put every. It was an old episode, but I'm thinking about if we score 6 points, how that's a celebration.
Oh my God.
Alabama prep says Tim Jackson is a yes man to Jimmy Rain.
I see. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully they yes their way to some wins.
He's a PTB to the. He's a yes man to the PTB.
We'll have a lot to talk about if he is.
Nicholas Frazier says Robbie Ashford, in my opinion, is the answer. Camden Brown, Amari Kelly, Javarius Johnson, and Landon King should be the receivers. These are your ballers.
Yeah, man. Listen.
Yeah. There's a certain ceiling that you have if they commit to a quarterback and say, we're going to build our offense around your strengths. If you do that. Now, that's a coaching decision that you could fault Brian Hartson going forward. I get what you wanted to do. We see the bones of what type of offense you wanted to run with TJ as the play call, as the quarterback, because I see the passes downfield. I see guys falling into the zone and making completions. I see a lot of good throws. He's not consistent enough to do that good part well enough without the mistakes. So here's what you got. You got another guy in Zach Calzada who still may be behind as far as understanding the offense and actually running it. And then you got a guy with Robbie with completely different strengths and different weaknesses. What are you going to do? Now, well, Robbie's just going to have to get out there and run what we run best. Well, no. He can't just – what you have planned for TJ is not the offense that Robbie needs to run. Right. It needs to be different. So that, to me, that's a bigger mark of who and what the coaching staff is than anything we've seen thus far. Because you can have a great plan. You can say, listen, I've seen my concepts work at every stop I've been at. I've seen these concepts work in the NFL. Great. You don't have the guys for that. What are you going to do? And that will be, to me, that will be my test of who is this staff, how good are they, is what they do from here going forward with the choice of quarterback and what they give that quarterback to run.
Yeah. Austin McBarner, love the name there. No more former Arkansas State head coaches, please. And he's referencing Hugh Freeze there. Heard that name been mentioned a lot last night on socials.
Hugh Freeze's name gets mentioned every time that there's a coaching search anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, anything in closing as we start to wrap up this show?
No, man. Listen, it's one game.
I do have one more thing to say.
No,
and I know this is going to get a lot of backlash in the comment section after this is over with, but I'm going to say it anyway. Mm-hmm. There are two factions of fans right now with Auburn. There's the overreacting faction of fan that is just everything is doom and gloom. And even if you're justified in how feeling, that's fine. I don't have a problem with you at all. So this is not directed at you just because you feel as if this is a bad football team, because you have every right to feel that way. There is the more realistic fan who's like, hey, it's not perfect, but hey, hope for the future, blah, 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 blah. I said two. There's a third faction that I want to talk to real quick. And that is those of you who seem to think that somehow your disappointment with the product on the field entitles you to go and be belligerent to these athletes. Somehow you think I spent my time coming and supporting you and you let me down. Don't you think those kids feel bad? You think that they feel happy that they lost the game in that way? On that, they were the ones out there on the field getting actually embarrassed, and you're embarrassed because you supported them. That's not the right way to do this, man. That's not the right way to do this at all. And I get it. I'm not blaming fans for anything. If you hear me say this and you hear me saying I'm blaming fans for something, what I'm blaming you for is not understanding how to separate your emotions from your actions. I'm just as upset as anybody else. I get on here and I criticize and talk about people for things that I feel like they should do better. What I'm not going to do is go on social media adding these guys and saying stupid stuff. What I'm not going to do is pretend as if I didn't say this stuff if I met them in real life.
Right.
What I'm not going to do is try to pretend as if my emotion somehow entitles me to a place to get on social media or anywhere and act a donkey with these. Those young men don't feel good about this already. Settle down a little bit, man.
Yeah,
calm down. It's some of it's a little too much. It's a little much for you to criticize a young man who's worked his entire life thus far to get a D1 scholarship to a Power 5 school, and you tell him he's not good enough to play for your team because they didn't play well enough on one Saturday. Settle down. It's too much. It's too much.
Yeah, I would say most of us will never know how it feels to have our mistakes blasted all over national television,
right,
every Sunday morning, or be memed across the internet, for your bad days. So, I would appeal to people to just remember, they're not above criticism because that's what comes with the limelight, right? But the words that you choose are completely on you. And there are a lot of people with no communication skills out here trying to communicate.
Correct.
Things,
That's the
and
difference. It's like I'm not
bad.
saying don't criticize. Yeah,
Right.
they play a game where criticism is fair.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Right.
just sometimes, like, I think we cross the line a little too much sometimes.
Right.
A little too much.
There was a comment earlier, a super chat that we had that said, hey, like, you know, I don't think TJ is the right fit for the conditions that we have. I might have gotten that wrong or like something.
Yeah.
And I think that is probably one of the more sensible statements I've seen on TJ Finley.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that yes, man, all these kids, and you can't, I talk to the parents a lot, and what a lot of folks don't get is that you can't get to this level without talent. They all have talent. All these kids have talent.
Right.
And they can play the game. You know, which ones put it together and which ones don't. That's largely dependent on them and the situation that they're in. If we never hire Al Borges, it's arguable Jason Campbell never has his season that gets him into the first round. He played himself into the first round of the draft in 1 year.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people just don't understand. Like, nobody was looking at this team. They thought we were going to lose Ronnie and Cadillac in the offseason. And they found a way to hold it together in 03 so that they could get to 04. And this is what, you know, be part of that culture. Be the positive part of the culture that is calm until we shouldn't be calm. And that's what I mean by I'm in until I'm out.
Right.
Right. I just feel like more fans should be what Ike is saying. Like, you know, hey, listen, just remember that, you know, I grew up in a Christian household where, you know, my parents told us repeatedly that life and death was in the power of the tongue. Right. And I think there's a very simple message, maybe not so literally, but like, you know, your words, the words that you choose can build or they can tear down. And what you choose to do with your words says more about you than it does about any of these kids.
Right.
Because they are kids. So we can sit here, we can criticize play without criticizing a person's character, or like, you know, we can separate the two. And so many people just don't know where the line is at. And social media, like, you know, I mean, I know I didn't want to go off on a tangent about this, but like, you know, if you're an athlete and you're watching this, man, don't let some faceless account get you down about you. Right? Don't let some coward who doesn't even have the courage to put his face with the words that he says on Twitter get you down about all the things that you've accomplished that got you to this level.
Right.
Screw those people. Because most of them will never know what it takes, the sacrifice that it takes, and the hard work that it takes, and the luck sometimes that it takes to be good. They just will never know. So, you know, I'm not a big fan of, like, you know, I understood quickly after we started the show, like, why, like, you know, I was talking to Cole Kublik one time at the Birmingham Bowl. I ran into Cole and we were talking about Twitter culture. And Cole was just like, man, Mike, the mute button is your friend. He said, I go down my timeline and I mute. I don't even see what a lot of these idiots have to say because most of it is garbage. And I'm like, all right. I feel that.
And what I've learned, and I tell these guys all the time, I hate Twitter, but I'm on there. I'm starting to have to be on there. And I'm realizing social media is a place where you get rewarded for being the most emotional.
Right.
You get rewarded for that. Like there's you get likes, you get comments, you get attention. And so I think people who are seeking attention in that regard, it's you have to remember that person is being irrational and emotional, because if you're thinking and sensible and logical, why would I do that? But if I'm emotional, there's a lot of decisions I made in my life. When I look back on it, I regret because I was emotional that day.
Yeah. What did Drake say? This is fame, not clout. And it's a lot of people on Twitter looking for clout on your fame.
Yeah.
That's it, man. Clout is temporary. You know, your clout only lasts as long as your tweet stays up. Right? So don't let people searching for clout. These are the people that Ike's talking about. These are the people, the overly emotional, the overly over-the-top people looking for clout on social media. Don't let them get you down about, you know, all the hard work and all the preparation and everything you did to earn your spot at this level. I don't care if they lose every game from now until the end of the year. Those kids work hard. And if you're a fan, you should be a human being even above being a fan and understand that. There is a way to say, hey, man, that sucked. We had a bad time on Saturday. I hated seeing that. You know who hated it more? Just like Ike said, the guys on the field.
Right.
They feel bad about the justice. They feel worse than you do.
Because
I guess it's the people who are like, I'm never watching another Auburn game. I'm not spending my hard-earned money to watch. I get it. It's rough. But you know what where I'm gonna be Saturday when they play Missouri? At the stadium watching the game.
Yeah. Right. Listen,
Sure.
Auburn's been ruining my weekends for 20 years. So I'm gonna give them at least 20 more. Right? Like it is what it is, right? Either you're with it or you're not. And like I said, I mean, there are lots of ask Bama fans about the 6 years before Saban.
Yeah. Well, I listen. This is my last implore to the show up Saturday for these kids, man.
Please, please
be there and support them. Like I get it. It felt bad watching that, but they need your support now more than they did last weekend because there's a lot of them that are probably feeling super low about how they performed, and they want to perform better, not just for you, but for themselves. They want an NFL career after this. They want to do something that extends beyond this last Saturday, and they want to erase the memory of that. Show up for them, man. Be there and support that team wholeheartedly. Scream and watch them play. And if they lose, they lose. But at least they had someone there to support them.
Choose Auburn.
Just be that.
Choose Auburn. Yeah.
You're not Auburn family just because we're winning. You're Auburn family because we're Auburn family. And so show up for these kids, win or lose.
And that atmosphere in that stadium is a big part of why they came here in the first place. If we lose that, then talking about how it's hard to recruit, imagine having recruits hosted at a game where people are walking out in the middle of the third quarter. Like that's probably a worse look than us just getting handed to us is people bailing.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts. Jazzy Joe says Mike G won, but he can't super chat. He broke the YouTube bank.
We're good, Jazzy. He'll hit us up later, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. He says he was at 418, 388. You had. Mike was at
700,000. I was like, the truck broke at that point.
He never said he bought it brand new. I'm just saying.
It can only take so much.
Oh, he gets that thing works on the rate he gets it worked on. He can rack up some miles. But anyway, guys, we appreciate you hanging out with us. Ike, tell the people, those who do want to see the film review, how can they do that?
You can come on and hit that join button right there where the video is right now, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this on replay. If you see the join button right there, click that join button, select patron level in order to be able to get in on tomorrow's film review. And you can go back and look at previous film reviews that we have there. We have a whole playlist with that stuff so you can see all of the film breakdowns. Sometimes the film allows you to see some things that you didn't see live and you kind of change your perspective on some things. So hopefully this film review will enlighten me in some way. I will get some sort of sign from above that, there is a beacon of hope within all of this chaos. But even if you want to just do the supporter level at $3.99, you can get access to things like chatting with us after the games, right? So the post-game chat, only members, right? So you want to be able to get in on things like that. We give away tickets all the time. Missouri is coming up this weekend. We're going to be giving actually tickets away to the LSU game coming up, but the Missouri ticket winner, congrats to you out there. If you weren't able to do the memberships because you don't have the money or you're not ready to make that, hopefully one of your friends out here will do the gifting and be able to gift you some memberships. You get a 1 month free on one of the other members that can come in here and just give that away for you guys. So hopefully some people will do that. We are the Auburn Express, powered by the War Rapport on all of your platforms in which you can listen to podcasts. So if you want audio versions of this, it's going to be going up on podcasts this week. Be on the lookout for that stuff, including audio only things like Mike, Mac, and memes. We do that once a week for you guys when we can. So outside of that, hit up the warreport.com, the new and improved warreport.com, not just merch, but definitely merch. We've got stuff there like we're writing articles now, right? So we're a full media company doing all of the things. We're giving you audio, we're giving you video, and we're giving you written content. The warreport.com is where you can go there, as well as hit the shop up. If you didn't win today, you can go there and shop for something on your dime. But thanks again to everybody who's been out here supporting the War Report. Hopefully you continue to do that.
And guys, before you get out of here, share the video, use the hashtag, smash the like button before you get out of here, guys. Hopefully you did that while you were watching and listening along with us. Also, visit us on social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find us at The War Rapport. We are TW Rapport on TikTok. That's it for now, guys. We will definitely catch you. For those of you who are patrons, we'll see you with Watch the Film. But we'll be back with the midweek report as we look ahead to Missouri. Until then, enjoy the rest of your weekend. And as always, War Eagle.
War Eagle.